You are Indie Speaks TV. I went to read your bio on YouTube. You started as a CNA and now you are a nurse practitioner. In other words, you started as the lowest rank in nursing in the US and now you are the highest rank in nursing in the US. You are not an American.
No.
You are from
Nigeria.
How did it happen? Stop that. Most people don't know that the ranks in nursing in the US. Let me explain. Nurse practitioners are like the highest in terms of rank. And usually you have to have a master's before you're a nurse practitioner. So if you're in the UK, we can say, let's say you're band 8 or band 9, because we use the bands, okay? Or you are like an advanced nurse practitioner. She started as a CNA. That's what my mom is. That's when you have to do a few courses, 3 weeks course, 1 month course, and then you take care of people or you assist the LPNs or whatever. That's what she started. And now she's at the highest rank. How did you do that?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's a really great opportunity. So thank you. And like you said, my name is Indy. I'm originally from Nigeria and I came to the US through school. When I came in, I wanted to study nursing, of course. But then when I came in, I quickly realized that things weren't as rosy as people say. So I had to drop out of that school because I needed work to kind of work and support myself. And the only way I could do that was to, of course, find a job. But the school that I was at that time, fortunately, they had a program. There was a nursing home near that school that had a program, and they said, oh, we'll teach you. We have this thing called nursing assistant. Since you want to be a nurse, we teach you how to take care of people. You get certification and then you get paid and you can work them and for about a year. And then after a year, you can go and work by yourself and do whatever. But the commitment was that you had to work for them for a year and they'll pay for your school. So that's how I got into nursing assistant program. So I basically went through that program with them.
Let me ask, how many years ago is this?
2002, because I came to US in 2001. They, of course, teach you, then you had the exams where they call the state board for that particular program where you had to pass both the practical and the writing portion of
And this
it.
is a CNA course?
This is a CNA course.
Okay. And how long was the course itself?
So the course wasn't long. I'm pretty sure it was like a month.
Okay.
So you go to classes and then you have the clinical portion, basically like nursing. So they give you time where you go for clinical, you go, you watch other people take care of, the patients. And then they give you a little assignment. They tell you do this and that, just like clinical.
How were you able to switch from a student visa to do that? Or was that also considered schooling?
That because they came to the school, honestly, I don't know how.
Okay.
I was able to, because they came to the school and they offered this and we were like, okay, so with the student visa, you can work. But you had this thing on your passport, your social security, because in US they have a social security number and they say work permit, something with student work only, something like that. I can't remember how it was called then, but there was something stamped on your visa that you can work as long as you're a student. And then it was like they will pay you like what is called a minimum pay at that time. So I went through the training and then I worked with them, but of course I couldn't afford the fees, so I had to drop out of that school. And then when I moved to where I am right now, which is Maryland, thank God for that, because that's what I actually used now to find work. So when I started working, I was still paying my school fees as an international student, but I wasn't going to like a 4-year college anymore. I went to what is called a community college.
So hold on, you didn't finish the 1 month course even?
I did finish it.
You didn't?
I did.
You finished that one? Okay.
I finished it.
Finance the main university,
the
college.
Yep.
So you rather change the community college, which is much cheaper and in Maryland. But at this time, you had done the 1-month course already with that nursing home. So you had the knowledge. Okay.
Yep. Because when I came to Maryland, now you had to take the Maryland portion of the exams. So when I took the exams, I was now able to work in Maryland as a nursing assistant. And with the money I was making as a nursing assistant, I was then able to pay my school fees, but I was still paying as an international student, which was still very expensive. Then I heard about the LPN, which is a bit cheaper. It's a year. So you go for a year and then you can make a little bit more money and then you can now go back to school. So now I dropped out of the community college to go to this LPN. But the good thing is with the credits from the community college, it's yours. So you can, when you go back to school, you can still apply your credits. So that those credits that I got was still mine. So I left that, and
For those who are confused, when she says credit, she doesn't mean money. She means like credit as in the course, like the
yes.
courses you had done and the
Mhm,
credits you had
mhm.
accumulated from the courses.
Yep.
Okay.
I now went into the LPN program, and that was a year. And that one, I think that time it was like $7,000, which was still a lot of money. But the thing is, they were able to do what is called a monthly installment. So you weren't paying like the whole 7,000 at once. So now I would go to work at night. So I worked as a nursing assistant at night, and then I'll go for my LPN from like 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Then when I leave school, I go to work and then come back, sleep, then go to school, went to work. So that's how I did till I completed my LPN program. And then now I was able to make more money to now go back for my registered nursing.
So this video is proudly sponsored by Lemfi. Yes, Lemfi. You can send money using Lemfi if you're in the UK, Canada, or the US to about 10 different African countries with no transfer charges. Absolutely no transfer charges. And it's a known fact that Lemfi has the best rates when it comes to transferring money. With Lemfi, you actually get value for your money, and the person gets the money almost immediately when you send it. You can send money from the UK, Canada, or the US using Lemfi to Ghana, Nigeria, Benin, Tanzania, Rwanda, Cameroon, Senegal, Ivory Coast with zero fees. Honestly, zero fees. Ever since I discovered it, that's what myself and my family have been using, and it's been very reliable. I've never had any issues with it. And even if you have any issues, their customer support is going to sort out your issues immediately. You can download Lemfi whether you use an Android, whether you use an iOS, with a link in the description. And for your first transfer above £100, if you use the referral code Nanelle, you get 10% of the money you're transferring back. Yes, 10% cashback. So when you say £100, you get £10 back. When you say £200, you get £20 back. And even after that, you can generate your own referral code and, you know, share with your friends and family, your group chats. And then anytime somebody uses your code, you get a referral bonus as well. Yes. So don't forget to send money using my referral code. Okay. Thank you so much, Lemfi, for sponsoring today's video. How much were you earning at that time as a CNA, and how much were LPNs earning at the time as well?
So at that time, I believe I was earning between $7 and $10 as a CNA.
An hour.
So like that $10 was like a lot of money, like $10, $11. That means you're really getting paid well. And then for the LPN, it was between $18 and $20. So that was like a lot of bump in your pay to be able to support yourself. And then when you go to RN, then of course, now we are talking about $30, $25, so more.
And you did so well. Like somebody would have just given up, get stuck at, let's say, LPN and say is enough. But what kept you going? And first of all, you're a foreigner, you're not from that country. So obviously you don't have loads of family members there. I want to believe that. And this is a young girl, I don't know what the age that you were at the time. You go to do this course, and then you say, oh, okay, let me go a bit higher. What kept you going?
I think it was my mom, because there's this thing she told me right before I left. She said, oh, you're an ambassador for this family. And for some reason, that thing stuck with me. Like, you're a representative, you know, don't go disappoint. Because first of all, it was like a really, really big thing for them to let me go. Because imagine having your child coming to you and say, hey, I have this opportunity to go to school in the US, but then you don't have any family in the US. Like, your parents have to be crazy to let you, like, they have to really trust you to let you go. And because of that trust, I could not, there was just something in me that could not disappoint them. And I was like, you know, no matter what, I have to go to school. I have to go to school. It was just in my head.
Majority of Nigerians, you have the hustle attitude. So fast forward, you started the community college, and then that was for how many years?
So the community college usually is 2 years, and then if you're doing a 4-year college, of course, it's 4 years. So the community college, you will get like your associate degree, and then the 4-year college is when you would get your bachelor's. But since I did not complete the community college, remember, I left it, went to do my LPN. So when I finished my LPN and eventually went back to school, I went straight for my 4 years.
Okay.
Bachelor's. So I went, then I finished. Immediately I finished, and then my friend comes and say, hey, I want to go do nurse practitioner. Come, let's go do it together. I was like, I just finished. Please, I need to breathe. I cannot. So she started ahead of me, so I waited like a year because I just had to regroup. Because then I got married to my husband, who was a citizen, so I was able to get my papers and stuff.
Please, so is he a white man?
No, he's a Nigerian.
Okay.
No, in US you are able to get loans for school, like they can give you loans for school. But because at that time I wasn't like a citizen or a permanent resident, I wasn't able to get the loans. You have to be a permanent resident. So most of the money was from me. Only the last part of my RN program that I was now able to, get some loans. So I did not have a lot of school loans. But then when I went into the nursery, the thing that made me like, okay, now maybe I can also go back to do nurse practitioner was now I was able to, at least if I'm able to get loans, I can, get loans and continue with my school. So that also made me like, okay, maybe let me do this. So that's how I got back. I went back to school, plus my friend was doing it. She was motivating me. So, and she's also a Nigerian. So
Wow.
let's do it. So I went back and I became a nurse practitioner.
You married whilst you were in nursing school, just when you're about finishing. And because you got married to a citizen, you became a citizen.
I became a permanent resident.
So now you had access to student loans. So you decided to take advantage of that and use that to finish your final nursing school fees, and then also use that to pay your nurse practitioner school fees or your master's fees. So how long did you practice as an RN before you decided to go into nurse practitioner?
Because I was an LPN. So LPN, you're basically operating like an RN. The only difference is that they make more money and they can do certain things like maybe starting an IV. RNs can, but LPNs cannot. But some places, like I used to work for a nursing home then. The nursing home that I worked, they were able to train their LPNs to start IV. So you could start IV at their facility. But that doesn't mean if you go to another place that you can start IV, no, but only when you work with them. So I was still able to learn some things. So you were basically operating like a registered nurse, even though you were an LPN. So I built a lot of knowledge with that. So when I now became a registered nurse, and because I was working at one place for a long time, even when I was doing my nursing assistant, I worked with them. So I worked with them for like over 10 years. So I basically transitioned from LPN when I got my registered nurse license. I transitioned to a wound nurse with them. Then I transitioned to a nurse educator and infection control. So I was with them for over 10 years. And then I practiced as a registered nurse for like 4 years while I was in school. So because I was working with them Monday to Friday, because like infection prevention is a Monday to Friday office job, I was able to like go to school, and then I was able to like take days off and then maybe come extra on a Saturday to do my job, or come early because I had been with them for so long. They were flexible with me. So I practiced for about 4 years before I got my nurse practitioner degree.
Wow, but that was as you were still in school. Yeah, okay. So from the time that you started this whole nursing journey to the time that you got your license as an RN, how many years was it?
Probably took me like maybe 6 years.
But you didn't give up and you kept going. Wow. And would you also say that because you started from the scratch, it made you understand nursing very, very well, and it made it quite easy for you to progress because like you were a CNA, you knew a bit of things, and then those things were top like up. You became an LPN, you practiced whilst you were still schooling. Most of your other colleagues who were in your nursing school probably would only do the compulsory internships or the clinicals, but you did not only do that, but you also had a job. And I realized that sometimes when you are in the field, it makes whatever you're learning in the classroom very easy to understand. So would you say that was a big plus for you? And would you also say that this helped build your CV?
Yeah, definitely, because when people look at your CV and they see all your experience starting from nursing assistant, then they know you've been in the field for a long time. And not only that, there are things that you can do, right? Even though you're maybe a provider now, if something happens, it's like second nature to me to clean up or to do stuff, because I still have that inside of me. So I said definitely it helps me. And even practicing right now as a nurse practitioner, there are knowledge that I gained as a nurse working on the floor, seeing doctors doctors write these orders, because right now I'm in an outpatient clinic. But when my patients come in and they tell me this and this, I remember the knowledge that I gained, and I'm like, oh yeah, we used to use this, and I think this will help you, and I apply it, and it actually works. Like, this one comes to my mind very easily, a particular cream that we used a lot in the nursing home for people that have like dry, cracked skin. So when my patient comes, like, hey, I know this cream, and I've actually shared this with other providers that never worked in a nursing home. So I'm like, use this, and they come back, oh my God, that really worked my skin. So it's the knowledge that I gain from this. So I think it really, really helps with building that background.
And so when you finally got your license, how many years? I don't know if you answered this one. How many years did you practice as an RN?
4 years.
4 years. Okay. The nurse practitioner program, how long was it?
So the nurse practitioner program, they actually have part-time and full-time, depending on how fast you want to do it. Some people want to do it in 3 years, some people want to do it in 2 years. I did not want to rush it because, of course, at this time I had children, I had other things going on, so I didn't do the accelerated program. So it took me 3 years to finish my program.
So you had kids at what point? You had kids after the RN, right?
No, my first child, actually, I had him as I finished my LPN. And for some reason, I don't know how I always managed to have kids in between in school. And then when I was doing my RN, actually after my LPN, I had my second child in the midst of my getting my registered nursing. And even nurse practitioner, the last year, I almost failed my pharmacology class because I had my last baby. I was pregnant with my last baby then, and he's 5 years now. So I don't know how, for some reason, I always ended up pregnant.
I was about to ask that. Do you think you were able to go through it smoothly because you were not having kids then? So now you answered that you actually had kids. How did you juggle that? And where was the help from?
It was stressful. I have a very, very supportive husband. So that's one thing, because honestly, it's just the two of us. And then I have people that I've met that have become like family that I can take my child to and say, help me. And at that time, I had actually met someone. She's from Cameroon, and she was my nursing assistant. I was a nurse then, and something just happened that day, and all I did was I spoke for her. And after that, she was like, oh my God, nobody has ever spoken for me, thank you. And my husband had traveled then, and we got to talk, and she's like, oh, my mom stays here with me, so if you want to bring your kids. So that's how her mom ended up watching my kids till they didn't need a babysitter anymore.
Wow.
So she was one person that when I actually was in my RN program, when I was doing my clinicals, when I had to leave like 4 a.m. so I can be at clinical at 7, I would wake my kids up. I would take them to her house, drop them there, and go to clinical, and they'll sleep there, and then she'll wake them up when it's time for school and take them to school. And she lived like 40 minutes from their school. So this is just somebody I met. So we became like really, really close.
Hey, so God really just brought your helper.
Yep.
And that was because of a kind gesture. It's not been easy. You've done well. I'm inspired because I have been an RN in the UK for 5 years. I have not gone to any school. I have not tried to upgrade, and I'm using my son as an excuse. And so like you having not one child, but in between you had several kids, and then you've been able to do this is very inspiring. And I'm sure you're speaking to lots of people, and recently the UK relaxed their migration rules for nursing assistants to migrate from Africa and other Asian countries to come here.
That's great.
Yes, and I know that there are people that will come here and then they'll be so content with a £10 or £11 an hour that they're having for the rest of their lives till they die. And I have most of them watching, subscribers. I'm speaking to them that they should listen to your story and then do this for themselves and do this for their families, and know that it's possible. But no matter where you want to go, you can still combine it. Just look at the available options you can do. These days, there are online nursing courses that you can do, and then they make the clinical parts very flexible. They'll try and find you a place very close to you and all that, so you can do it. How much do you make now as a nurse practitioner?
So as a nurse practitioner, depending on the state that you live in US, right now California, I believe, is the highest paying state, but you can make an average of 110 K 80K a year to like 120, 150 a year, right? Depending on where you live. But for like an RN, it's between like 70 to 77K or 80K a year. The only thing I would say is that as a nurse practitioner, whatever they give you, whether you stay an hour late or whatever, you cannot make any more than that. But as a registered nurse on the floor, bedside, you can pick up overtime. So you will find that some RNs can still make more than a nurse practitioner because they can pick up, they can travel, and all of that.
What's the difference between a nurse practitioner and an RN?
So the difference is that as a nurse practitioner, you're able to diagnose, you're able to write prescription. So you're basically like a doctor. The only thing is you can do surgery and all these other things, but you can insert IUDs, you can put in Nexplanons, you can do knee injections, you can prescribe. For a registered nurse, you can take orders, but you cannot give orders. You take the orders from the doctor, you give the medication for the patient. That's it. Most RNs, they already have the knowledge of what is going on with the patient, right? So even when I was a bedside nurse, because at one point during my school, I left nursing home and I transitioned into the hospital setting because I needed to do my clinicals a little bit more flexible. So I needed to work only 3 days a week. So with that, you see things and you already know what is wrong with the patient, right? So if a patient has UTI, based on the symptoms, you can say, hey, I think this person has UTI. But the only thing is that you cannot diagnose. You have to give the doctors those symptoms, and then now they'll diagnose and prescribe the right medication for the patient.
So what's your schedule like? You go to the hospital in the morning. What time? What time do you close? How many days a week do you work?
So I work in an outpatient clinic. I work Monday to Friday. I have to be at the clinic at 8 a.m. and I start seeing patients at 8:20 and I finish at 4:40. So really, your last patient is 4:20. So like you're leaving at 5 o'clock. When COVID happened, we were doing like 1 week in the clinic, 1 week at home with telehealth. So after COVID, we were able to negotiate so that we can have at least 1 day at home. So I work every Friday from home. Monday to Friday, I go into the clinic.
Wow. I know you mentioned the yearly, but in terms of like monthly, averagely, what's like your gross?
Monthly for a nurse practitioner, you can make between 7,000 to 10,000 before taxes.
Okay. So would you say it was worth it?
Yes, it was worth it. But I would also say, do your research based on your family, if this is really what is going to fit for your family. Because if you're someone that maybe you're like the breadwinner of your family and you really, really need money, I feel like even as a registered nurse, you can make more money. But for NP, you might have to take a second job if you want to still, because like my husband is also in the medical field, but that's one thing he said he cannot do because my husband is a hustler. He works a lot. And he's someone that, wants, do. But if you're saying this is how much, he just looked at him like, there's no way, I'm not doing this. So I can make more money. For him, it's like, I can make more money as a registered nurse than this. So why would I want to do this?
Yeah, because that's some travel nurse is making more. That's some RNs in California making way more. But it's it feels good to say you're a nurse practitioner.
Yeah, so you really want to leave bedside, right? I wanted to leave bedside. So if you want to leave bedside, then that's for you. But if you want to make money, think of nurse anesthetist, which is what my husband did. So you can do that.
Please, can I interview your husband?
Huh?
Can I interview your husband?
Of course, I'll ask him.
I've never had a nurse anesthetic on the show before, and I hear they make a lot of money in the US. I'd like to hear from him.
Yeah, I'll tell him. So for that, he was always someone that worked in the ICU and always emergencies. So I'm like, no, I want a controlled environment.
And I think as a mother, this also helps because you can even drop your kids to school, come to work, and go even pick them up. And you still have time to spend with them, cook for them, spend bedtime with them. So you, for a woman or a mother, I think, who wants to have time for family, I think it's okay. And you're home on the weekends, right? So it's fine, I think it's wow. Your final word.
I think anything that you want to do in this life, that's what I've come to discover. Like, you just have to set your mind to it. Sometimes it looks bleak. it looks like it's difficult. I'm not going to say that it was really easy. There were times that I cried. There were times I was like, oh my God, this is so difficult. I don't think I can do it. And my husband can testify that there were times I was like, I can't. And I'll cry, and he'll just, take the kids. And, there were difficult times. But at the end of the day, I have a goal. And once I set my mind to that goal, and that's the same thing I tell my sister. And I said, sometimes things, when somebody does things and it bothers you, I'm like, but what is your goal? What are you trying to get to? Then all these things, they are distractions. You have to forget the distractions. Every time you want to be upset or every time you want to give up, think of where you're going. And that should motivate you. So once you have a goal and once you make up your mind that you want to get there, it doesn't matter what happens around you. Just remember that all this, at one day you're going to be like, yeah, this happened, but this is where I am now. So just making up your mind that you can do it. Anybody can do it.
Well said. Indeed speaks. Thank you so much for today, for inspiring everybody, including myself. I'll leave your details, your YouTube and everything in the description and on the screen, so that if people want to reach out to you, they can reach out to you. There are lots of UK nurses that are currently moving to the US, and I'm sure those that are moving there, they would like to obviously become nurse practitioners or whatever. They can reach out to you for you to, advise them or motivate them or whatever. So thank you so much. And please, we'll be expecting your husband. Bye-bye.
Yes, bye.